Hi, I'm Linda Rumpf, reading tutor and parent support coach. And welcome, welcome, welcome. This week we are talking about working memory issues. So, in my tutoring business, I have encountered students who seem to, when they learn phonics concepts, vocabulary words, spelling, seem to forget it almost immediately, at least by the next lesson, but sometimes even within a lesson. And it's very noticeable when a student has what we call working memory issues. So, working memory is basically your ability to access short term memory and long term memory, to put those together to actually accomplish a task. So, with people who appear to have a working memory issue, when they've just learned something or they've learned something recently, it's hard for them to access information that isn't worn really deeply down in the grooves of the memory to re-access that information. So you might guess that the secret to working with students who have working memory issues is repetition. So today we're going to talk about that. So when I am working with a student like this in a tutoring session, I switch up the way that I do things. So normally I will have a student read aloud to me for 30 minutes, and they might have mistakes while they're reading. They might have words they don't know or can't pronounce, new words that they've never seen, or phonics concepts, like letter combinations that they either forgot or don't know how to pronounce. And when they come to these miscues, then I write them all down while they're reading, and then I look for patterns. So during the second half of the lesson, after the reading aloud, that then comes the teaching part where we go over these phonics patterns that they need to learn. With a student who has working memory issues, it's been shown that pre-teaching is very effective for them. So I switch up the order of the teaching and the reading in the lesson, and I do the teaching part first. And so this requires a little more work because I have to have a list of words prepared from the passage or text that we're going to read, with words that I am fairly sure that, or that I suspect that the student may not know, or words that maybe they've mispronounced before, and I think they may or may not recognize the word families or the patterns, pronunciation patterns, or spelling patterns. So I have to prepare that list from the text of words they're going to encounter in the text that they might not know. I like to use the McGuffey readers for this because they're old, from a different era, from a bygone century, but they're well leveled. McGuffey was a genius. And the reader 2, is right at that level. Reader 1, right at that level. They don't throw all kinds of other words in there. Just like nowadays when you go to the library and you're in the reader 2 section, say, it's a grab bag. You get all kinds of cartoon books, you get books that aren't even written in complete sentences, you've got books that have like the majority of the text set at the level of a reader 2, and then they'll throw in other big words, like books like Captain Underpants, where they'll say something like incredible, but maybe you're just basically learning AI words or silent E words, and then you have a word like incredible. It just doesn't make sense. So the McGuffey readers are leveled all through the book, and they are a series of little stories and poems. And then above each one is a vocabulary list of some new words that the reader is going to come across in the story. So I love it because there's my list prepared for me. So with students with working memory issues, the pre-teaching is about going through and making the vocabulary list, which later becomes your spelling list too, before you read those words in a passage. So we go through and I have them just take a shot at reading the words right off the vocabulary list. We don't start with me reading those words to them. I start just seeing how they can do with the list. And then if they're stumbling or they're not sure how to pronounce a word, then we pull out all our tools, our decoding tools, syllabication, spelling rules, and I'll remind them of the different rules. And then when we get a word decoded, then we might talk about what it means. If it's really a brand new word and they don't even have any idea, what the definition of that word is, we'll talk about that. So once they know the words on the list and once they can pronounce each one, then we'll go and read the passage. And it really builds confidence for a student with working memory issues to have looked at and studied before they go and try to read, because then they have a success with the reading, right from the get-go. And they need that. And also, they're hearing themselves read the words properly in the sentences from the start. So that is a really big boost to their reading. And then we will also have a vocabulary list written by that time. I have them write the words down as we're going over the list in the first pre-teaching session of the lesson. So that is my tip for tonight. It significantly changes the ability of a student with working memory issues to retain information if you pre-teach it before you try to use the information to do anything with it. So pre-teaching is the tip for tonight, and tune in tomorrow for tip number 2. Thanks for being here.